Hello everybody, welcome back to Norwich Talk for another Preferred 11 video. We shall be giving our Preferred 11 ahead of tomorrow's clash at Carrow Road with Wolves, a Wolves team who are in form, have looked very, very decent and are making me slightly nervous. But nonetheless, under this new Dean Smith regime, my hopes have been refreshed, rejuvenated, if you will. So, and you know what, quickly on a side note, it's nice to have that positive feeling back. I said this against Southampton. It's nice to have the feeling of going to Carrow Road and not counting how many ways we can be embarrassed. So that is a nice positive note to start on. Dean Smith has done his press conference. The only thing of note, really, ever, to be honest with you, is the injuries. I believe Zimbo is still out, as he said. He's coming back from ankle surgery. Sam Byram obviously won't feature. He's on his way back from a very, very long injury. Apparently he'll play, I think, Monday for the 23s, which is good to see him coming back, just for him personally, because I'm sure it's been a really horrible time as of late. I believe he also said, Dean Smith that is, also said Kabak was unlucky not to feature in the squad last week, having come back from glandular fever. Kieran Dowell is also back training, but I won't lie to you, these injury updates don't affect my lineup. I've got, I think, 2 changes in my lineup this week. Yeah, two changes, which you'll see in due course, one sooner rather than later. But jumping straight in, I guess, Tim Krul in goal made a really, really good save, didn't he, at 1-1 against Che Adams, which, you know, again, as is always the case with football, if that had gone in, the game could have just gone completely differently, given the way the game was actually going. You know, that first half was very tense, wasn't it? I think tense is the right word to use. Krul has to start. Brilliant. Loving the pieces. It's as simple as that, really. Now, the first of the 2 changes that I'm making, I'm going with Big Andy and Grant Hanley in the centre-back position. Hanley was a bit of a wally on the ball at times against Southampton, but I think with Big Andy next to him, who is just very, very good on it, he can then just give the ball to him and let him make all the decisions, and Hanley can do what he's best at, which is winning the ball in the air, tackling, because it's his bread and butter. It's what he's good at. He did it with Ben Gibson really well against Southampton. I'm putting Big Andy back in just because he's Big Andy, and I don't think it really needs explanation in terms of the fact that he's just really good. I was really surprised to not see him start against Southampton. I thought it was a little bit harsh. Dean Smith in his press conference acknowledged it was, I don't know if he said harsh, but he basically said, yeah, he's pretty good. He just wanted experience. I think we've seen that you need someone who's really, really good on the ball if you want to be good defensively, because then you don't create any additional pressure. We saw Hanley lose the ball, didn't we, in a silly position. You're not going to get that with Big Andy at all, are you? On the left and right of those 2 centre-backs, I've got Brandon Williams, Max Aarons. Aarons against Southampton was really, really good. We said after the game, and we say this every week, when it comes to Max Aarons, it's a case of he will always put in at least a 7.5. Against Southampton, for me, 8.5, 9 territory, which is just brilliant. You know, he set a really high standard and he constantly matches it, which is just a bonus. And hopefully, I think he will. He'll give Norwich the whole season and help us stay up and go and get his move, which he deserves. He's been really good, and I think that cross that he put in for Pukki will give him a bit more confidence in terms of putting dangerous balls into the box, because I think that the weakest part of his game is the final ball, which it's not saying it's bad, it's just the weakest part of his game, in my opinion anyway. Williams, I think it would just be harsh to drop him. I do think on the front foot, Janulis is better, and then defensively, I think they're about the same, but he's pretty good against Southampton. I thought it was really interesting, actually, watching the fullbacks against Southampton, because from goal kicks, they weren't particularly high up, and they weren't also, what we're trying to say here, they weren't breaking or stretching the game as far as I thought they could have, especially towards the end. Now, I don't know if that was a choice or whether it was Brandon Williams, for example, being very tired, but I noticed when Tim Krul had the ball, or if the ball was on the halfway line, Williams would be kind of next to Ben Gibson, which, in theory, maybe trying to keep things a bit tighter. I don't know. I just thought that was quite interesting, because with Daniel Farker, it's just guns are blazing, fullbacks, off you go and do your thing, isn't it? So I'd be interested to see how it pans out against Wolves and what their position is like. I'm really enjoying, and it's obviously only been one game, but I'm enjoying just paying attention to each player and thinking, what are you doing? Because things are going to be different than they were under Daniel Farke. For example, possession. I know this season it hasn't been great under Daniel Farke anyway, but we're not going to dominate it. You don't need to dominate it to win football games. But that's just one example of different changes that I'm excited to see, to be honest with you, because, under Daniel Farke things weren't going well at all, were they? And it probably wasn't going to change, despite the win against Brentford. Whatever. That's Farke politics. Let's get out of those deep, hot waters. In the middle, I've gone for big Mr. Norway himself, Matthias Norman. It wasn't his best game against Southampton, but that's just because he was at a 7. Usually he's at an 8 or 9, isn't he? And that I don't know what you'd call it, sidewinder pass was just... As I keep saying, he tries the Hollywood, doesn't he? And that was a definition of the Hollywood pass that paid off, and it was a really good ball to Rashica. It's what he's got in the bag. He's very good. Simple as that, really. I've gone for McLean and wee Billy next to him. Billy Gilmour was superb in the second half against Southampton. I thought he was really, really good. Now, we know on the ball he's very good, and his decision-making is also very good. There was that, I don't know what minute it was, but there's that little highlight, isn't there, where he picks the ball up in a dangerous position or takes a bit of a weird touch, lobs it over someone, plays whoever was down the right, must have been Sargent, and it's just like, yeah, that's what he's about, that's what he does. But he was also putting in a lot of the dirty work and giving, I think he must have given them 2 or 3 fouls away in the second half, where it was just clever fouls. It was just breaking the momentum of play, because Norwich were dominant, not in terms of possession, but on the ball. How do I say this in a better way? They were more efficient than Southampton on the ball. There you go. A lot more aggressive as well. And when Southampton threatened to break, a sensible foul would be given away. And that's an example of Norwich City being a bit more streetwise, which is something we have been calling for very loudly, very regularly, which is good to see. And Gilmour was a massive part of that. McLean, I think overall, I prefer Les Malou in that position. But again, in terms of creating momentum, he was pretty good in the second half. He's just a bundle of energy. My mouth is apparently, which is why I can't say words quickly. On the ball, he carries it pretty well, I guess. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't really understand McLean as a footballer. And that's not because he's not good. It's just I don't quite get what he is beyond a bundle of energy. I genuinely, in the comments down below, please, your thoughts on McLean, just specifically. I would really love to know, just to help me understand, I guess. McLean, it's just about creating momentum for him, and I think, you see me struggling to talk about McLean here. Beyond his energy, I don't really know what he is, but he played pretty well in the second half against Southampton. On the left and right of my striker, I've gone for, on the left, Milot Rashica. On the right, Josh Sargent. I think it was the Southampton game, I had Cantwell left, Rashica right. You can clearly see that Rashica likes to play on the left. He was very good in terms of coming in on his right foot. I think decisions could have been a little bit better in terms of just making them in the final third. But he was really bright. The one thing you can't fault is his effort and the fact that he will get at a defender every single time. I think Michael Bailey said in his post-match verdict that I watched, he does kind of wonder whether he's that player you're always going to want a little bit more from. And do you know what? I thought, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. But the potential is there now. Dean Smith, like it was Daniel Farke's job, it is now Dean Smith's job to unlock that potential, which is going to be interesting to see how it goes. I do like Rashica. If we're going to want to stay up, we're going to want to see more end products in terms of goals. I think he put the assist in for the corner. Might have been Billy. I think it was Gilmour, actually, wasn't it? But the potential is there. Someone like Schollis, who else? Probably Cantwell as well, are thinking they're going to want to make that position their own. But at the moment, you can't really drop Rashica. For me, Sargent in the second half was really, really good. Now, the one thing we've always said, and you can never question Josh Sargent's work rate from the games he's played for Norwich City so far, which isn't many, but you can never question his work rate. The one thing we've criticised is his touch and his decision-making on the ball. Against Southampton, where it hasn't been in the past, I thought it was fantastic. I thought, for some reason, I don't know where it came from, but this sort of link-up he had down the right with Max Aarons was a bit like, right, this looks like it's been a thing for a good few years, which was really positive, wasn't it? And I just thought on the ball he was really good, as Dean Smith described, a wide forward. He's all you want, really. You're going to want a couple more goals and a couple more assists, but I do believe genuinely if he plays in that sort of position and keeps up the work rate, it will come. It is a matter of time. Again, is it the case of Rashica, and you're always going to want that little bit more? But, the guy's 21 years old. He's very young. First season English football, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. But yeah, really good. Has to start for me. Cantwell was poor against Southampton, but there are almost mitigating circumstances of I didn't actually know he wasn't training with the first team. That was kind of a revelation to me. I thought he was, but he just wasn't getting into the team because of the whole dynamic with Daniel Farke. But he's just come back into the first team in terms of literally on a match day, but also training. So he's going to have that time to adapt. We know he's Premier League proven. We know he's got it in the locker. We saw it in the Premier League. We saw it in the Championship. It's just a matter of time for him, and it was nice to see him start against Southampton because it was a show of faith, as everyone keeps saying, from Dean Smith. But yeah, that's enough on Cantwell. Up front, Pukki, big Teemu, has to play. Brilliant. I love him to pieces. It's as simple as that. You don't really have to get into too much detail. His header against Southampton was a bit lucky. Sure, I don't care, but I'm pretty sure for most of Teemu Pukki's goals, you can sometimes say the way they go in is a bit lucky, but he scored a goal. What more can you want from him? His movement is second to none. He just on the ball, he's really good. He's just really, really good. He's really good at carrying the ball. Now, where we've had strikers in the past, I won't name names because I feel a bit scared to do so, but on the ball you think maybe not as gifted. Teemu Pukki is all of it. He's brilliant. He's just really good. I'm happy to leave it there when it comes to talking about Teemu Pukki, just because we all know how good he is, and if you give him chances, he'll score you goals. You know for a fact he will score you goals. And what's the tweet I saw? Must have been yesterday or the day before. Something about scoring more goals than a bunch of strikers in the Premier League who cost lots of money, essentially. And then you've just got little Teemu Pukki on 4 so far this season. Absolutely love my pieces. How many times have I said that now? 4, 5 times? But I do, and I think we all do as well. We can all appreciate how good he is. Now, that is my lineup. I don't think I've left any stones unturned. I'm satisfied with that, to be honest with you, with the 2 changes. It's important not to disrupt momentum. My final thoughts ahead of the game. We know it's going to be a tough game. Southampton were really good last Saturday. I think Wolves will be even better. I'm trying to think of the Wolves manager's name. I think it's Bruno Lager. Bruno, basically, has done a very good job. I know at the beginning of the season, and I promise I'm not just copying what Dean Smith said, that they struggled with games in terms of results. But I remember watching them against Man United and then against Southampton a few weeks later when they got that win. Just thought they looked really good. They looked really organised. Again, I'm doing my very best to not sound like I'm just copying what Dean Smith said. But he made a good point when he said they never look like conceding, which is a great attribute to have as a team, especially now they're picking up those results. I think it's really good, and I don't want him to on Saturday, but I think it's really nice to see Raul Jimenez back scoring goals and getting back to the prior form and the prior standard he'd set, because obviously his injury was just nasty, really horrible. Thankfully he was all right, and he's now getting back to his best. Wonderful, wonderful striker. I remember watching him at Carrow Road last time Wolves came here, and he was just brilliant. I don't think, in terms of the whole game, he wasn't that good, but I think he scored 2, or at least 1 fantastic goal. And when a striker can not play particularly well but score a brilliant goal, that's the sign of a wonderful, wonderful footballer. As I said, hopefully he doesn't do it tomorrow, which he probably will. It's what happens, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. You'll see us after the game for the standard post-match stream. Also, as well, I don't know if I'll be on it or not, but check out Hodgie's post-match Twitter Spaces. They're always good fun. I'm usually on them after a home game, but in terms when I'm not on them, I give them a listen. They're good fun to listen to. So I recommend you do so. A thumbs up on the video would be appreciated. Blah blah blah. You know the drill. Subscribe. All that good stuff. So until next time, I'll see you again very very soon.